Welcome to episode 12 of the Hungarian History Podcast. I am Szántai Gábor, and this is still the only podcast in English dedicated entirely to Hungarian history. Today's episode is a special edition. I am joined by historian Konnát Árpád for a deep and engaging conversation. Instead of a monologue, this time you will hear a conversation rich with insights, reflections, and contexts that go beyond the usual timeline. Let's get started. We are honored to have Konnát Árpád with us today as our distinguished guest speaker. Árpád, you are not only a Transylvanian Hungarian working at the Trianon Museum in Várpalota, but also my dear friend and swordmate. A master of languages, you wield both the saber and the longsword with equal skill. And let's not forget you are also an author of historical fiction. Could you start by telling us more about yourself, please?
Dear Gabor, first of all, thank you for the invitation to this podcast. I feel very honored because of this possibility. And second of all, I'm a bit excited as this is my first podcast talk in my life at all. So sorry regarding if I make any mistake. And we have met around 10 years ago. I don't even remember precisely. I guess at first we met on Facebook. Then later, after a relatively long time of online talking, we met by person. And we did a little bit fencing. First with long sword because you have long swords and my sabers are still at home because the majority of my weaponry is in secular land. So I was born in Kovasna, in Romanian is also Kovasna. This is the most eastern town in the Carpathian Basin, and Kovasna belongs to Székely land or secular land. It's a historically autonomous zone in Transylvania in the Hungarian Kingdom, which makes part of Romania since 1920. And I'm 30 years old. Now I live in Budapest with my girlfriend. And as you stated, I work in the Trianon Museum in Várpalota for 2 more weeks. I will both the saber and the longsword, but I forgot a very big part of my fencing knowledge, as I have started historical fencing in 2014 in the Golden Saber fencing group led by Dr. Hidán Csaba. He is the doctor of archaeology and is also a historian. But in the near future, we have to practice more because I start to forget my knowledge, and it is good to stay in shape.
Don't worry, it is like riding a bicycle. You can never forget it. Looking forward, to a good fencing. And my second question is, Árpád, that what inspired you to pursue history and archaeology? And how do you combine these with your expertise in historical martial arts? We would love to hear more about both things.
I love history since I know my mind. Even in my childhood, when our parents showed us to foreigners, they said that my brother knows mainly geography and I know history. I mean, not knowing, but mainly at first liking. And originally, I wanted to become a military historian. I always drew, and I even often drew soldiers, weapons, military vehicles, battles, etc. And my father is a professional instructor of folk wood carving. So my brother and I had a lot of opportunities to make wooden toy weapons. It was my 7th birthday party, and all my boy classmates had at least 3 different weapons from our bar when we played war. And my love towards the weapons, especially towards swords and sabers, also comes from my childhood. It was in 2007 I was in the 5th grade of elementary school when I met Dr. Morácz László in Alsó-Csernáton in the village museum founded by Hassman Pál. He's a very famous Jewish originated but Hungarian Székely self-made ethnographer who treated my brother and me like his foster grandsons. He was very, very kind with us. There was a camp where he learned about the origins and the structure of old Hungarian language. And in that camp, Mr. Morácz, of course I didn't know yet that he will be my father-in-law, so he had me to hold a presentation that could be called scientific, and then I talked about the gyök system of the Hungarian language. It was my first presentation, what, as I said, that could be called as scientific. And I took part in the 17th camp of the Canadian Rákóczi Ferenc organization in 2010 when I was 14. And that was the first occasion when everybody called me by nickname Small Literary Historian. That was the first time when I held my first historical, so not only scientific but historical presentation. It was about the Mongol invasion of Hungary in 1241-1242, and the presentation's place, it was the memorial of the Battle of Muhi in 1241, one of the worst Hungarian military catastrophe. I won the second place on the national historic competition here in Romania when I was in the 9th grade, and it was a very, very strange occurrence in Romania that a Hungarian in such prize. And all these experiences pushed me to choose history at the university as well, and I chose it together with archaeology. I took part in archaeological excavation in 4 countries, in Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, and I even had the possibility, even in the first year of the university, to go to Russia in 1214 at the 3rd relic Russian-Hungarian archaeological expedition, when we were after the origins of old Hungarian motherland in Asia. And beside these experiences, I worked in almost every museum in the territory of historical Székely. The longest term I served in Gyergyó-Szent Miklós Starosnyás Márton Museum. This is the most northern part of our region, and it is the, we may say, the widest part, in the good and the bad meaning of this word as well. And it is wide compared even to the other parts of Székelyland.
Wow.
So these are my experiences.
I see. And Árpád, being from Transylvania, do you feel it gives you a unique perspective on Hungarian history? Do you see it through a different lens than those of us who are from other parts of the Carpathian Basin?
Yeah, first of all, I think that the worldview, respectively the historical worldview of every person, especially every historian, is more or less shaped by his or her smaller motherland. I mean, I would think almost entirely different about certain parts of Hungarian history if I am from the southern part of the Hungarian plains, or if I am from Upper Hungary or somewhere near Vienna. So yes, being from Transylvania gives me a unique perspective of Hungarian history, but I think that is true to every historical region. I may tell you a specific example of these different views, shaped by place of birth. I have a good friend from Péterrére. This is a small village in northern Serbia, part of the historical Hungarian region Szerémség. And we argued a lot about the 16th, 17th century. In my opinion, Germans were the more dangerous enemy, as they could not, or they even did not want to protect Hungary and Transylvania, but they always interfered, and they still interfere in a way into Hungarian inner policies. They chased other other than Catholic sects of the Christian Church, namely Protestants. In turn, I like Turks. Of course, I admit that they harmed us the most during our entire history, and I don't really like the Turkish revisionist ideologies about these times. But other than that, I like that nation. I have a lot of Turkish friends too. I also plan to learn Turkish. The Turks are that nation who loves us the most. This is quite understandable why I think like this Transylvania was surrounded from three different directions by Turks, or Turkish was our territories. We had to make agreements with them if we wanted to stay in peace. And interestingly, the two main catastrophes of early modern Transylvania occurred when our suzerains, Báthori Zsigmond, then Rákóczi György II, they openly faced Turks. It happened in 1594 in the 15 Years' War, and it happened the second one in 1657. And in turn, the most shining days of Transylvania were under the ruler Bethlen Gábor. In English, we used to say Gabriel Bethlen, but I don't really like the direct translations of the names of our suzerains. So under the ruler of Bethlen Gábor, who was a very loyal vassal of Istanbul, he even became Transylvania's suzerain by Turkish military help. So that's why among Transylvanian Hungarians, the Austrians and the Habsburg Empire became a main enemy archetype. I also dislike Austrians, both historically, both nowadays. And there is an Austrian woodlogger company in the close vicinity of my town, Kovászna, which semi-illegally steals our forest, and many smaller loggers had to finish their work because they could not compete with the prices offered by this big multinational, but mainly Austrian-based company. And it is very interesting that they are banned in Austria, but they can work in Romania. So, my friend from the Sutherlands has an entirely different point of view about these questions, however. Good to know that by the reason of geography, being the most southern parts of historical Hungary, so being the closest to the Turkish invasions, the southern lands suffered the most because of the Ottoman rulers. It started most before the Battle of Mohács. Their suffering started even at the end of the 14th century. The medieval system of localities did not remain intact during the Ottoman age, like on those territories like Transylvania, which were never under constant Ottoman rule. Moreover, here appeared the same problem like in Transylvania, but in this time, on this territory, it was turned. The Hungarians living in the close vicinity of Austria must keep a relatively good relation with the Habsburg Empire, as they depended on them. Here the Austrians were the more powerful, not the Turks. So in these territories, the Turks became the main enemy archetype. My friend from Bulgaria simply hates Turks, and every Muslim alike. Only cardinally, but I must add that the mainly Muslim immigration means a severe threat factor here, there, even in these days when we speak. So turning back to your original question, yeah, everybody sees history through different lens, and that is okay.
Okay, yes, it's a dividing question. Even today in Hungary, that some people love the Habsburgs and they swear that, yeah, they are the saviors of Hungary, but some people say no, to the contrary. And I in many parts, I agree with you. So, you are also an admin of the Hungarian History and Culture Without Borders Facebook group, Árpád, and you help share Hungarian history with the world. Why do you think this is important?
I think it is very important as it depends more or less on the foreigners' public opinion. I mean, foreigners as our neighboring countries and all European countries, moreover, the public opinion of such non-European countries already have or will have serious effects in our Central European life. Incidentally, this is true to every other European nations. We depend on each other as we did in the past as well, but now in the age of globalization, this is particularly true. Our greatest national tragedy in the past century, the Treaty of Trianon, was also highly influenced by the public opinion of the great powers. The Czech, the Serbian, and mainly the Romanian propaganda was much more effective than ours. Particularly the Romanian propaganda, it was mainly effective mainly in France, it had medium effects in England, and it had almost any effect in Germany. It is very interesting but quite understandable, as the French nation is their relative, by the way, on the base of their language. And even in the present times, we seriously lag behind our neighbors when we try to represent our historical worldview to other nations. The Hungarian scientific policy is catastrophic, unfortunately. This whole work that you are doing, that we are doing, using your own money and your own time and your own soul energy, should be the task of an entire department of ministry. Still, I believe in the beautiful saying of the greatest Transylvanian suzerain whom we talked previously, Betlen Gábor. So he said, we cannot do always what we have to do, but we always have to do what we can do.
Yes, it is a very nice quotation, Árpád, and I agree again with you, but I hope that up there in the ministry they can hear what we say and they will rush to our help immediately. Maybe I am dreaming. So it comes to my mind, what is your mission as a historian, Árpád? Could you share some of your future plans with us?
Yeah, I may continue my previous answer. I also try to inform non-Hungarians about our history, because I feel unjust that when our neighbors expropriate such historical persons, we build legacy and culture and what is ours. And interesting, as the bigger part of Slovakia still is based on Hungarian castles, the secular account in the Bram Stoker's famous 1897 horror novel Dracula is known as a Romanian all over the world, and usually, as I meet a non-Hungarian and I say that I am from Pennsylvania, they always mention Dracula. There are plenty of such examples. We could talk hours about this and the processes, how they became non-Hungarian in the foreigner's historical worldview. And good to know that my aim is not to accuse or attack our neighbors. I mean, it is not the sin of nowadays Romanians or Slovakians or Serbians or Austrians or anybody that what kind of legacy they got. But I really hope that if they know our worldview and our opinion about such some contrary and some disputed topics, then I hope that they may rethink or reshape their own views. And there are, and good to know, so informing such people who are interested in our topics, but they did not have the possibility to learn about Hungarian side of such themes. And my future plans in history, I know I write a smaller fiction book about the ragged guards. In Hungarian, it's a Rongyosgárda. It was a paramilitary unit in 1921. After the Treaty of Trianon, the great powers said that Serbia should go out from the nowadays Baranya country with the center of Pécs, but in turn we have to cede Western Hungary to Austria. And this is the very distasteful political action after the Treaty of Trianon, because in part I understand that Romania, Serbia and Czechoslovakia got apart from our old country, but Austria was also part of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. They also lost the war, and even then they got territories from our kingdom. And it happened in 1921. and there was a few. These ragged guards were all volunteers. Mainly, they were simple peasants from around Kecskemét, so from the Great Hungarian Plains. In part, they were the veteran soldiers of the Sector Division, and in part, they were university students also from Selmecbánya and also from Sopron. And very interestingly, part of them were Muslim volunteers, Albanian, Bosnians, and even Turkish volunteers. They came to help us in order to defend Western Hungary. And these ragged guards, this paramilitary force, beat the Austrian gendarmerie in 17 different battles, smaller battles. And there were treaties in Venezia, in Italy. And the result of these treaties became that the ragged guards put down their arms and they left the disputed territories. But in turn, there was a voting in Sopron and in the neighboring seven villages. So the residents had to vote if they want to remain in Hungary or they want to be part of Austria. And these votings, and we won these votings. So we may say that these ragged guards defended Sopron and the neighboring seven villages. And that was the biggest reprisal of Trianon Treaty until the start of the Second World War. So I think it is very important to know about these volunteers because in the communist regime their memory was very negative and even a lot of Hungarians or they don't know at all about them or they know only negative things about these volunteers. And I think it may be important to reshape our memories about them. And in a bigger term, I also plan to translate to English because with the help of you, I found a lot of Hungarians in the Western states who are very interested in our history, or if their relatives were Hungarian and they are interested in the history of their ancient fathers or forefathers. So there are my future a part of my future plans.
Oh, these are very exciting, and we can hardly wait to see or read some chapters or something on the Facebook that you can share with us, and people would be glad to read about this because not many people are knowledgeable about this. But very good choosing, I guess. Now let's delve into the 16th century. In our podcast, I have just discussed the turbulent years between 1526 and 28, emphasizing that Hungary didn't simply vanish after Mohács. Yet some people still push this false narrative, often those who wish Hungary had never existed. Well, this reminds me of a passage in Bulgakov's famous novel, The Master and Margarita. And there is a part where a communist character argues that criticizing or debating an idea like Christianity is ineffective. Instead, one should simply deny the very existence of Jesus Christ. Similarly, some people try to erase Hungary from history, for instance, by claiming Transylvania was independent before 1526, or after 1526, Hungary disappeared and didn't exist anymore. So what is your response to this?
And first of all, I have to make clear that the 16th century or even the early modern ages are not my first field of research. My specialization includes the migration period as an archaeologist, mainly the Avar and more specifically the Transylvanian Avar age. And as a researcher of the Trianon Museum, I studied and I still study part-time of the biography of Árpád and Konnát. They were two Hungarian officers from the 20th century. So my opinion about the early modern ages or the 17th or the 16th century should be handled right. So your second question, I would start. So that Transylvania was never independent. This part of Hungary was attached to the Royal Hungarian court in 103 after Christ. As its ruler, Gyula, he was defeated by the Hungarian king Stephen I. So our Saint Stephen king. He is well known that he is one of the three Hungarian kings who never lost a battle. And since then, Transylvania was a solid part of the Hungarian kingdom. And even it had its own ruler, the voivode. And it's good to know that a solid point in the Transylvanian history is 1437, when there was a very fierce and brutal peasant uprising, because the new taxes had to pay in the new money, and the new money which was not even widespread amongst people. It is alike that we can imagine that if we can use only euro for tomorrow in Hungary as well, but everybody uses forints now. So of course that the peasants were very angry, and not only peasants were very angry about this, and the smaller nobility led this uprising, and they even crushed the army of nobility on 2 occasions near Kolozsvár, and they even could capture Kolozsvár. But finally, of course, after crushing this revolt, the 3 political nations of Transylvania, I mean the Hungarians, the settlers, the Székelys, and the Saxons, made a union amongst them, and it was called the Unio Trium Nationum, so the union of the 3 nations. They made an agreement that in the future, if such revolts will occur, they will help each other. Besides them, the Wallachians is the medieval names of Romanians. Romanians started to use this name Romanian from the 19th century. If I know well, Mihail Kogolnicianu invested this word, Romanian, and it was originated from the word Romanian. Before that, we used, and even they used Wallachians. So if nowadays we use this word Wallachian, it is in Hungarian Olah. It is not an accuse, and it's not a hurt by words. It is simply the old denomination of this nation.
Yeah, so it is not a derogatory
yes,
phrase,
it's not a derogatory form. Only, of course, if we attach some derogatory term, like stinking Wallachian, but if we use only this word, it is not a derogatory one. So the Wallachians were also present here in Transylvania, even in the 14th century, and they were present mainly in the southwestern parts of Transylvania, and their first documented appearance is dated in 1205, in Fogaras country. In Romanian, it is Făgăraș. And it is in the 13th century it was a Peceneg territory, Făgăraș or Fogaras.
And Peceneg means besenyő.
Besenyő in Hungarian, yes. Is besenyő. So the Romanians were present, but they did not have their own nobility. So that's why they did not take part in the leader in this Unio Trium Nationum, so in this kind of leadership of Transylvania.
It is often mentioned by them in a negative way. So thank you for clarifying this. Yes.
Yes, of course, they used to say it often, but we must state that they did not take part, not because they were Wallachians and they were subjugated, but because they did not have their own nobility. In Transylvania, of course, in Wallachia and in Moldavia, there was Wallachian nobility. That's another question, that the nobility in Moldavia and Wallachia, they were mainly of steppe origin. They were mainly Bulgarians, Cumans, Tatars, and they became Wallachian around these times in the 14th, 15th centuries.
This is very interesting.
So turning to your first question, we know that after 1527, as we know that the Hungarian civil war rose between the Szapolyai and the Habsburg parties, and Transylvania was, of course, it was under the rule of King Szapolyai István, Stefan Szapolyai, but as I have stated, I don't like the translation of the name of the ruler, so Szapolyai István, who was the previous Hungarian voivode. And later, as we talk furthermore, it became, Transylvania became the base of the new state, the Principality of Transylvania, but even then it was not a sovereign country as it was an Ottoman state. And no, Hungary did not disappear after the Battle of Mohács, because after the Battle of Mohács, and mainly after the aforementioned Hungarian Civil War, the old territory of Hungary was became three parts. It was the Hungarian kingdom. So the Hungarian kingdom, it was under Habsburg Ferdinand, but he was a Hungarian king at first, and he later became the ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. So at first he was a Hungarian king. So the title of Hungarian king did not disappear after the Battle of Mohács. And it is very interesting that mainly Romanians try to accuse us that after the Battle of Mohács there were no Hungarian kings, because by nationality, and it is true, by nationality any later kings, they were not of Hungarian nation, of origins. But if we say alike, then we may say that they were no Romanian kings at all, as all of them were of German origin. So the origin of the king and the origin of the kingdom, it's not the same at a very, very many occasions, not only in Romania, not only in Hungarian history, but the most well-known example is the English crown. They were Scottish, they were Norman, they were German, they were Viking kings of England. And nobody debates that they were English kings. So we have to have a like attitude towards Hungarian kings as well.
Wow.
And beside the Hungarian kingdom, it was, as I have said, and as we may talk about furthermore, the the Principality of Transylvania, and the central southern part of Hungary was under right Turkish military occupation.
I see. Árpád, these are very interesting things. And in the next podcast, we will talk more about Transylvanian Principality. But time is a monster and running quickly. Are you coming to join us next time?
Yes, of course, of course.
Thank you very much, Árpád. We look forward to discussing Transylvania's golden age. And before the golden age, everything in our next podcasts. Your expertise is invaluable, and we would love to have you back for future episodes. We appreciate your time and education. Thank you, Árpád.
Thank you for the occasion, and I'm eager to talk to you at the next occasions, and I greet everybody who had the time to listen us, and I hope I and you could help to inform a bit of such themes which are not very widespread among general public opinion. And I think it is very important to spread such news. And I may say that nobody has to believe me, nobody has to agree with me, but it may help if we listen each other's opinions, and we may make agreement in some terms.
Wow! Thank you again. Goodbye, Árpád.
Have a nice day, Gábor. Thanks for the occasion.
Thank you.
That was episode 12 of the Hungarian History Podcast. I am Szántai Gábor. Thank you for listening. If you found value in this conversation, please share it and consider supporting my work on Patreon, Substack, or Buy Me a Coffee. This remains the only English voice focused on the full scope of Hungarian history, and I am glad you are part of it. Sziasztok, goodbye, a viszonthallásra!